So yeah, it's fun.
Nice.
We're growing asparagus, so that was a great use
that's
of it.
Yes, exactly. I did a quiche with asparagus
Nice. Sounds delightful.
with a hash brown crust.
Ooh, fancy. Sounds fun. Sounds really good.
Kind of fun to play. There.
Right?
Counselor Tigan, hi. Up and going?
You know, we're year 3, so we're finally getting a good crop. It's a good question, as you know.
Juliana.
Grow overnight.
Okay, get started then. Well, hello, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the City of Salem Climate Action Plan Committee to order. It's Monday, April 21st, 2025, and it's 1:03 p.m. And I am Mickey Varney, the chair of the committee, and the rest of the members. Oh,
Paul Tigan, Ward 1 City Councilor.
Jay Matthews, Ward 3.
Vanessa Nordyke, Ward 7.
thanks. And staff or whoever, go ahead.
Juliana Douglas, Climate Action Plan Committee Manager.
Robert Chandler, Assistant Director of Public Works.
Krishna Moody, Income City Manager.
Cody Mars, Water Treatment Plant Supervisor.
Okay, thank you. And here,
John Livingston,
hello, John.
Citizen.
Welcome, welcome. And online we have Lori Dougherty. Anyway, welcome everybody. Here we are, day before Earth Day. Yay! It's been a beautiful, nice springy month. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody signed up for public comment?
That's the end there, so I don't.
Okay, okay. Lori, did you want to provide any public comment?
I just wanted to say hello, and I wanted to say I enjoyed the plant walk on Saturday, and glad to see these events happening with the Climate Action Plan Manager Juliana. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the February 18th meeting minutes. I have a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay,
I have a second.
okay, we have a and I can't even talk here today.
No
Okay.
comment for me. I'm
Well, they look good to me. Any discussion, any comment? No. Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Okay, next on our agenda is the Industrial Strategic Energy Management 2024 results with Mr. Mars.
Are you
Yay.
gonna start, Juliana? Is that?
Yeah, so we are going to go over the Industrial Strategic Energy Plan, and that is for both the wastewater treatment plant and for the water treatment plant. And I will be filling in for the wastewater. Good on that. All right. So just a little bit of background. The strategic energy management is more of a behavior based, and so just to provide some information on some of the non-behavior based work that has been done. The wastewater treatment plant has been engaging in energy efficiency and energy generation for nearly 10 years. So a lot of these programs have been supported by other Energy Trust of Oregon and PGE incentives, rebates, and other programs. They often are capital investments, and so they cost a lot of money, but they also save a lot of money, and that's why it's different from strategic energy management. One of the best examples of this is the cogeneration plant. So the cogeneration plant takes the wastewater byproduct, and through anaerobic digestion, it captures methane biogas, and from that it generates energy, and that energy generation is used to reduce the demand from the grid energy, and so that reduces the cost of wastewater treatment at the facility. Additional energy efficient upgrades from equipment has been adopted to optimize the system for the microorganisms at the wastewater treatment plant. And this has included right sizing the horsepower for a centrifugal blower and installing a dissolved oxygen control system. There's also been some efforts to use the excess heat energy for building heat. So into what strategic energy management is. It is a continuous improvement for low or no cost behavior changes, and both the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant were in the 2024 cohort, as well as the commercial strategic energy management program. We have 12 buildings for the city of Salem in the 2025, and then the water treatment plant is continuing their enrollment in industrial strategic energy management for 2025.
Julia, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear
Yes.
you. You said something about we have 12 buildings and
Yes.
then I didn't hear the rest.
Okay, so we have 12 buildings enrolled in the commercial entity of strategic energy management. So
Thank you.
in addition to industrial, there's commercial, and then there's also multifamily. So other opportunities for other folks to get involved in this program. And each of the programs provides a small incentive for every kilowatt hour or every therm of energy that is reduced from the projected use.
And what's a therm?
It's the energy unit for natural gas.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question real quick? You mentioned earlier a lot of the different projects that kind of this works in is the capital improvement projects. So expensive, but have an ultimate return on some financial savings. I know that financial savings aren't really the objective of the climate action plan, but with that, do we have any projections on kind of how much these changes have actually saved financially, but then also energy wise?
There is a lot on that. I don't think I have those numbers for you, but that's something that I could work with
I'm
folks
just
and get
wondering,
that back.
I'm just thinking more as like less of like the importance of this meeting, but just from like a storytelling standpoint for the city in the future as we kind of validate different things, try to justify.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the projects that I was talking about earlier aren't in strategic energy management. So the big capital projects are different from the SEM program. But for instance, this is looking like each year they're generating about 7,000 megawatt hours. So that's a pretty substantial reduction in energy costs.
Okay. And I'll be truly honest, I have no idea how much a megawatt hour is.
Okay.
When that can, like, I have no idea what that would power. So.
Well, we have some really great visuals
There's
to
some
try
graphics.
and-
Okay. There you go. All right.
We
Explain it
need
to some
charts for
degree.
eighth graders
Yeah.
at this end of the table,
Uh,
excluding our interim city manager,
Yeah.
of course. I'm included.
They Energy Trust of Oregon also provided us with a pizza equivalency. So if you want that broken down, we have all of those for you.
That's great.
As long as pizza's involved.
So in terms of numbers, this is what the strategic energy management did for the wastewater treatment plant last year. They had about 15 million kilowatt hours projected. And from that, they reduced the use by about 300,000. So that's a 2.1% savings. So that savings is both the about 20,000 that they didn't have to spend for that energy, and then an additional 20,000 between the Energy Trust performance incentives and creating those Energy Trust or meeting those Energy Trust milestones. So those are kind of more of the staff intensive work with that. And this was done through 26 different energy efficient projects, including adjusting the dissolved oxygen set point, optimizing low flow influent pump station, and repairing compressed air leaks. And do you want to make sure that I credit. So the optimizing the flow pump, those were done from some of our staff identified those as a issue. And so one of the cool things about this being a continued program for over the past decade, our staff was able to identify that that needed to be changed, and that was the biggest energy savings from last year. So while Energy Trust staff going through and doing their energy treasure hunts was really helpful, the biggest cost savings was from our staff. And so them not being in it in 2025 due to staffing capacity isn't indicative of them not doing the work. So they're going to continue doing the work. They just aren't going to be enrolled in the program for the wastewater treatment plant. And then they also worked on some repairs and replacements, again, low and no cost items. And then for this year, they've already got these currently underway, but they're working on pump rebuilds and adding variable frequency drives. So a couple more of these are a little bit more equipment centered. And then secondary aeration treatment optimization. All right, so I'll hand it over to Cody.
Okay, so the water side, we have a lot less of a budget for electricity. We just don't use as much. We're a gravity system. We do pump some water. We do have some electrical costs, but a lot less in the wastewater plant. So our annual predicted use is about 3 million. And we had a small amount of savings of 0.8%. Really, that was comprised of, we had 31 projects. So that could be as simple as, the really simple one was just closing the door, kind of like the kids, they leave the door open all the time. It's the same at work, turning down thermostats, doing a lot of small projects. And one thing that was really cool is we got everyone involved. So we did the treasure hunt, like you mentioned, with a bunch of the staff and getting them out there and seeing, like, what can we do? Because I'm in the office, I can't do all the work, but getting people out there that are seeing these processes every day and seeing what can we do to save energy. So we did a whole bunch of small projects, and then I think so electric heat set points, lowering the chlorine dose, turning off a refrigerator that's not being used, and then some exterior lights. Lights were running 24/7. We're putting those on photocells. So some of that stuff seems kind of boring, but I mean, we're doing.
Is boring.
Yeah, it really is.
That's okay.
But I think the next slide is, to me, is more exciting. So as most of you guys know, we added ozone to the treatment process recently and optimizing that dose. So if we're throwing, like this last summer, for instance, we had so much cyanotoxin, it was back in 2018, we had 4.6 parts per billion of microcystin. This last year, we had 18.3. So substantial increase. And, fortunately, we were very successful in removing the toxins. But we were throwing a lot of ozone at it because we didn't know what was going to work. So we did a study with our engineer to find out what optimal doses are. So we're able to reduce our ozone dose significantly. That savings hasn't made it into that previous slide where it talked about finances. We're still working on the numbers for that to see what that saves. But it made us start thinking about these things. What can we do? As a supervisor, I want to think the big things. If my guys want to think the small stuff like thermostats, that's great. But I really want to focus on what big things can we do by turning down the ozone dose a third of what we were dosing. What's that going to save? Other chemicals like chlorine. Chlorine has, we have to add chlorine for disinfection. But since ozone, we have less. Chlorine is reacting less with the impurities in the water because ozone is doing some of that work. So we're seeing our chlorine residual last throughout the system. Of course, water quality is going to be number one over efficiency as far as electrical costs. But what can we do to reduce dosage and still provide safe drinking water? That's some of the things we're looking at. Still.
Cody, can you walk
Exciting.
through how chlorine dosage what's the relationship between energy use? Is there more
Okay.
pumps and things like that in
Yeah.
order to get it through the chlorinated?
Yeah, so we
Chlorinated system?
generate chlorine on site. So we get deliveries of salt, NaCl.
Okay,
And we have generators which convert that salt into sodium hypochlorite, which
Got
is,
it.
like household bleach. We make a 1% bleach solution, whereas the stuff in the jug that you buy it at Walmart is 6%. But so that requires a ton of electricity to produce sodium hypochlorite. So by using ozone is doing the job, so chlorine we don't have to dose as high, that's less generation. The pumping cost too, there's a small amount of cost there.
okay. We didn't see that production site when we did the tour of Garen Island, but
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And if you
Yeah,
could,
I didn't know that.
just summarize how you turn oxygen into ozone, which is very power intensive.
Okay.
That we
so-
saw the plant.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, you're like,
this
wow, there's
used to
a
be,
lot of pipes and
this
stainless
used to
steel
have
in
like
there.
a 110
Yeah.
feet, and
Oh,
now we
yeah.
have this giant.
Yeah. So for you, those that have been out there, there's a 15,000 gallon liquid oxygen tank. Liquid oxygen is negative 297 degrees Fahrenheit. It flows through. I wish I had pictures here, but there's
It's way cool, just
three
for-
vaporizers that are right outside the liquid oxygen tank, and from there, basically, it turns it into the gaseous state by just warming it up. So it flows into the building through the generator. It flows through a micro gap where the oxygen, O2, and electricity is applied. And I don't know, some people say it's lightning in a can. But that produces, breaks up the O2 and produces a free radical. So the single oxygen molecule is looking for something to bind to. And so it binds to the O2 and there it is. Is that good enough? I don't know. We inject it into the water, and then the job that it does is it breaks up, cyanotoxins. It destroys taste and odor. It breaks up additional organics that can't be consumed by the biology of the cell sand filter, so it produces more food. That second stage of filtration ends up removing more of the organics, and so the final product is so much better than it was before. The chlorine doesn't have to be quite so high, and it stays throughout the whole system because we're going from Garen Island all the way to,
Orchard
playing
Heights.
the right way, right?
Yeah.
West is not west.
Good question. You touched on cyanotoxins being a lot higher last year, but we
Yeah.
obviously addressed it. In a nutshell, we addressed that because we have this new state-of-the-art water treatment plant.
Yeah.
That's it.
Definitely.
That is what.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
didn't even know.
There's a couple. We learned a lot this year actually about treating cyanotoxins.
Right, because
So,
you got a new
yeah.
car,
Yeah,
new shiny car.
And we
You
got
see
to
how it
use
handles
it,
through the curves,
you know.
right?
They
Yeah.
gave us a pass ball right down the middle, and we just hit it out of the park.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's nice.
do we have can scientists predict what the cyanotoxin levels will be like this summer? Because they do typically peak in summer, right? When it's
Yeah,
warm.
Right.
yeah, they do.
Right.
Earlier summer is when, June, July is typically when it peaks.
Mhm.
No, I don't think there's a prediction lab. I don't know that they've hit,
Yeah, there's an
Hit the mark.
active academic scientific discussion about what causes cyanotoxins.
I see.
And a range of theories, in other words.
Mhm.
So,
yeah, and they know a lot of what causes it, but why last year and not the two previous years?
and how to predict it and what has changed.
Yeah,
So predictive modeling is not reliable at this point.
I would say that.
no,
Okay.
no.
All right. Just
Oh.
curious.
Cody, when I
There's
think
more
about
to it.
when I think about behavior modification for energy savings and things like that, like we've switched to in our household have switched to time adjusted cost for our energy use,
Mhm.
right? So time of day pricing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
same.
But I think about the ozone and the chlorine system, they just have to run
They do.
24 hours. So
24,
like,
yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
benefit for the timing
Yeah.
of the use in terms of when they can be turned on or
And
turned off.
we don't have the right meter to do that, I don't think, currently, if we did.
So some city utilities are under that, and then they do adjust their pumping and other energy use times accordingly. So some, yes, not all. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't make sense, then we don't have that program.
Yeah.
But do we buy our electricity to run the ozone wholesale, or are we just another power customer on the Cause it seems like we're buying a lot, it seems like it takes a lot of
I
energy.
can look up what energy rate we're on, and so I can get back to the cap on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's more
For-
cost savings than energy saving, but you know,
But the
Yeah.
power at Heron Island is not PGE.
No, it's, yeah.
It's,
Pacific
Pacific
Power at Garen Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this work that we did was just at Garen Island. I also manage, there's Turner Control, Franzen Reservoir, and the Aquifer Storage and Recovery. That was not included with this project.
okay.
It was a different site. I would like to talk to you about power meter. I track all of that stuff, and maybe I could ask you some questions
Yeah.
later.
I had a question when you were talking about the cyanotoxins. Did you say parts per million or parts per
Parts per
billion?
billion.
Okay, make sure I got the right letter there. And then, sure, we have problems with cyanotoxins up at Detroit. Do we ever see any in the reservoirs?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, any other
in town?
reservoirs? Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just kind of curious.
you mean like around the state?
Oh,
Or-
well, either in our system, I was just kind of curious after it goes
Yeah.
through treatment and everything, is there any chance that it kicks up again further down the line?
No,
Okay.
so the toxin is within an algae cell or
Okay,
cyanobacteria cell.
right,
And so we either filter it out and it has a toxin, or if it does break open and release a toxin, then ozone destroys it.
okay,
So it's not gonna resurface down in
oh, good.
Fairmont or
Not
Mountain
gonna-
View down the pipe. Once we've
Okay.
removed it, it's gone.
Excellent. I'll start growing again.
Yeah.
So, is that all that you
I-
wanted to cover?
Yeah, that sounds like enough.
So again, the energy savings provided about 330,000 kilowatt hour reduction over what was projected, which looks like about $50,000 of cost savings and incentive. This is the
This
equivalent
slide's for
to.
you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask.
Matthew's was counting, get the numbers.
Got
Pizza
you.
The pizza one's coming, don't worry.
Just had the courage to say it.
Yeah.
See, this was both facilities, yes.
Yes. both
Okay,
Facilities. So
Okay.
it's about 33 homes, powered for a year. It's about 131 metric tons of carbon dioxide avoided, or about 261,000 pounds. And then if you are thinking in terms of gas, it would be the energy equivalency of 13,000 gallons of gas. And if you want to think about it in terms of pizza, it's about the same amount of
Margarita or
calories
double pick?
Right.
as 5
Love it.
million slices of pizza.
I
So
can't believe you had a slide for that.
I am shocked.
I am fascinated by that.
pizza
I'm
slide.
also,
could have it
is
for
it, it's like
Calzone.
one of those like hidden, like object pictures. It's like somehow also mesmerizing. Like,
Mm,
oh no, it's a sailboat.
Yeah. I did have a quick question. Do we have those inline hydro generator things?
No, we don't.
Okay.
And that's something we are looking into. I
Okay.
know I'm in meetings about that. And
Okay.
I don't know, I'm for it. I think that I mean, how do I say it? Let's see, I call it burning head. That's what in our industry would say burning head, but the water's flowing through these large pipes and we use valves to throttle that flow. So it's just burning that energy.
Right,
And
Right.
so
right.
if we put inline hydro in, I mean, as long as we
Makes
can
sense.
pay, as long as they're gonna pay for it, the power we put back in the system.
Yeah.
The household equivalent of burning head is shutting down your nozzle a little bit on your hose to reduce it. That's
Yeah, Yeah.
that's burning head. And we do have, talk about the hydro plan.
yeah,
Good
sure.
plan.
So we received a $100,000 grant from Oregon Department of Energy last year for that exact project. And they are currently working on that. And then with that, with that project completion, we're going to apply for an additional 200,000. That was in council's approval last year, and that's a rolling ETO incentive that we're applying for that other part, and that should give us a fully shovel-ready project plan. And the reason why it's shovel-ready is because, like Cody was touching on, we need to be able to get money back from it. And the location that we are able to produce that energy, we have probably lower energy bills than an average household. And so we couldn't do net metering. And so we have to get kind of creative with how we generate and get paid for that. So we're working on that component of it as well.
Yeah, usage is only about $1,000 a month. So pretty small bill for the city.
You know, if we're talking energy savings from these facilities, it occurs to me these facilities are in the middle of nowhere. To what extent are we incentivizing?
So says the people in
community?
Staten. I mean, it's,
Well, this one's in Turner, so.
oh, yeah, well, there you go.
He would not mind if I said that.
It's being recorded, so.
Yeah.
He will know. But, well, I'm just wondering, you know, to what extent are we incentivizing commuting together to save greenhouse gas emissions to and from the workplace?
That is a project that we worked on last year with employees, and we had a Get There Challenge program, and we're going to kind of do a bit more of that. But while I love that all of you showed up today, I do offer these meetings hybrid, and we are trying to work on our culture of offering meetings hybrid when possible. So
Fair enough.
yes,
I drove an EV, just for the record.
thank you. And then again, these programs are staff intensive. Well, maybe not staff intensive. They require energy champions. So I wanted to point out all of the great members of the teams that are integral in providing these cost savings and energy savings programs. I think that's all we have for some.
Yeah, Matt O'Brien, he's the lead operator. He's been with us about a year. He's been a great asset, so he takes on a lot of this stuff.
Was he the one that came from Corvallis?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I met him on
yeah.
the tour. He seems great.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is there an interest on for Willow Lake treatment plant? It's a fascinating.
Yeah.
Me, yeah, definitely.
After May 21.
Right.
I'm a little preoccupied between then,
No worries.
but I'd love to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to carpool.
There we go.
I'll ride my bike.
All right. No, it's good.
Okay.
It gives you a chance to see just, you know, how power is used and how it's not, and it's and the process. It is fascinating. Every time I go there, and I've been there quite often, I learn a lot each time.
I'd be stoked.
Yes. That would be.
I know there's you know, I know Juliana and I have both been invited to talk to, there's a Willamette class. Have they been invited to tour? And if so, would I be able to extend the invite to a student or two?
The student too, surely.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
When we schedule a time, I'll just see if any students would like to go. If that's cool with you guys. I don't know what your protocols are for visitors, so.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Cody.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks.
Of course. Are there any other questions before we move on? Covered?
I just note the
Okay.
the inline hydropower plan. It'd be good to get updates about that. I think especially here, it seems like a really interesting project in terms of what it'll look like. So capturing that lost energy.
We can absolutely do that once we have those.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I know that this probably isn't exactly what Counselor Matthews thought of when he made the comment last meeting, but one of the issues that I noted is we have 183 strategies, and when he very aptly said, well, how do I know what's going on with them? I brought that question to the Power BI team, and we came up with a good phase one for the climate action plan dashboard. And so just a little background on what Power BI is. It's a Microsoft platform and it can create an interactive dashboard and it can be public facing. The city is trying to streamline more of its information technology approaches. And so instead of having one-offs with a different software every place. So for instance, I was quoted $7,000 a year for a climate action dashboard. And so that wouldn't give me as much control. And then in terms of staff development, we're all learning how to create Power BI dashboards instead of interfacing with like external programs that we all have to use different. So not only would we not have the expertise in the city, but we also wouldn't get to learn and get to grow that professional development. And so I'm giving a little bit of the background here.
Juliana, I was going to say that I'm so happy to be.
Yes.
I was saying like, this sounds like,
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be the one to present this because this is actually the first public facing dashboard.
Ooh.
And so once you all are comfortable with it, we can get it live onto the website. We've already beta tested it. So super
Nice.
excited to be the one sharing this. And with that, I'd also love to thank the IT team. So Caroline, Jack, VJ, Dan, and Jim have all been really helpful on this. So,
So Juliana, the EMS team also wants to use the
Yeah.
Power BI to
Ooh,
kind of publish their dashboard. So
that would be awesome.
so I'm so
Yay.
glad to hear that you guys are going to pursue that.
yeah, so
Hey,
the link in your PDFs is actually live. So you can click on that and
Cool.
follow along if you'd like.
Fun.
And then it'll get posted onto the webpage once that's ready. But in addition to EMS, fire, police, and I believe development services are also on the Power BI team. And it's the team is various individuals. And so we're kind of creating our own like hub of, I guess, experts. And so we're teaching each other and learning on this great platform. So this is the homepage for the dashboard. And each of the sectors in the climate action plan, you can click on any one of those. And after it gets a second to load, you can click on the abridged strategies and scroll to one that you are maybe really interested in. And then it'll tell you the lead agency, the estimated cost of the strategy, the estimated greenhouse gas reduction potential, and then what the progresses were in the 2023 and 2024 annual report, and then it can give you a little bit more information on that strategy. And so this is available for all of the strategies. Just clicking on ones at random, but it can give anyone the ability to look at what they might be interested in. So a couple of the reasons why I really appreciate this is not only is it difficult to communicate where we're at in 183 strategies, it's also something that we know that there are others in the community that are doing, and having this communication tool be public facing could facilitate more collaboration because the city isn't always the lead agency.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not that there isn't progress being made, it's just not being reported because I haven't gotten in touch to maybe that community-based organization that's doing that work. And so this could lead for more collaboration and better reporting on what's actually being done in the community. And then for the just metrics overall, you can look at it overall, or you can select on maybe a strategy that you're more interested in. And you can look at multiple, or no, this is single select, sorry. So you can look at each one individually, or you can look at all. And then it also links back to the climate action plan webpage. So,
Question? Can I ask?
oh, go ahead.
Juliana, is there a contact, or if you're having more questions after you looked at what was on the screen, is there a contact person
So
on the screen?
So this will be embedded into the web page, and that web page has me as a contact person.
Okay. Thanks.
Do you have an example of one that's completed? I'd be curious to see what it looks like. Because I know you showed some random examples where it was ongoing and such. I'm just curious if we can see what a completed project looks like.
It would look the same. I'm trying to think of one that I know is, here we go. I
There
know
you
this.
go.
You're
Yeah,
here.
We're pretty sure.
So that's what a completed one looks like.
We did it.
Completed is not the most common because a lot of strategies require ongoing. So
Right.
one of the changes from the 2023 to the 2024 report is including that ongoing instead of just in progress, because we have some things that they can get to a stasis where they won't require a lot of time investment to keep them going, but to be considered a strategy that's implemented, they will need to continue going. So,
Gotcha. I think with the estimated cost of strategy tab, that's going to be kind of challenging, right? Because some, as you say, some might have an upfront cost, and then after that, the cost may be quite low. And some might be a one-time cost, and some might be year after year. And the button, as indicated currently, doesn't say whether that's per year, per month, per whenever. I don't know. Is that an option for? I just wonder. I could see how that might raise questions from people watching or reviewing it for the first time.
yeah, of course. So that's just taken out of the climate action plan strategies verbatim.
Okay. All right.
And if you recall the climate action plan under cost, you had 1, 2, 3, or 4, I think was maximum number of dollar signs with range. And those were estimated, box set technology. A bunch of people sitting around the table talking, and estimating what we thought it would cost. So it wasn't broken down beyond very wide ranging dollars, not life cycle cost or implementation cost versus ongoing cost. It's just, is it relatively inexpensive or really expensive? So that's the translation of dollar signs into actual a dollar range, but it's the same thing.
Sure. I can just imagine that, whether folks who were extremely skeptical of the notion that we even have a climate action problem could misinterpret that information as drafted.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I mean, you can misinterpret it no matter how clear you make the data, in fairness to you. But I'm just pointing out where, just to play devil's advocate, I can imagine how that could be misconstrued,
So if you're thinking about ways to address that, we could, again, it's embedded in the website, so we could have kind of a preamble that would include more information about that specific line item. Or if this council committee decides that you don't want to have that because it could have some negative misconceptions around it, it's something that could also be taken off. So I'm comfortable with either of those.
I would just say a definition of estimated cost of strategy. If you have that somewhere easy to find, then anyone can understand what that means, just like Dr. Chandler just explained. That would be my suggestion, but I'd love to hear other people's thoughts.
I think you're right that could be, interpreted differently, weaponized if needed is the truth. And so I think I have a fear of it being up there as well, especially if it's not at least somewhat accurate, right? And so I think my biggest thought would be, is that the right metric to be pooling for that number? And so I know, like some of the projects we talked about earlier, each one of those have an actual definitive number that we put on it, right? I mean, if we do an upgrade to something and it's supposed to have an outcome that's supposed to impact one of these items, that actually has a dollar amount to it. And so I guess my thought would be, are we really pulling the right metric when we start looking at cost of strategy of being those $1 to $4 signs, or should we actually be pulling the numbers that we're actually utilizing? Does that make sense?
We don't have a lot of those actual numbers, and not all of those actual numbers would be borne by the city if implemented. Did I explain that correctly? Sorry.
Like the cost wouldn't necessarily be, it's not coming from the city itself.
Yeah, so maybe I can find a better example of this. So this one, no, that one is not. Sorry, hold please. Okay, incentivize solar projects. This is not looking at the city of Salem actually incentivizing any of these.
Mm,
We would not be bearing any of these costs.
yeah.
So
Who would
And,
bear
and
it?
I would also include that in the estimated cost of strategy, like make sure people realize that this is not necessarily being used with city dollars.
Mm.
You know, again, I mean, I think, you know, I don't mind having the cost up there, but I would just have a very clear, easy to find definition of estimated cost of strategy to explain when it came, how it was devised and how it might be a cost borne by PGE, a private consumer, private business, and or city of Salem. So, I mean, I think it's in the interest of transparency, I'm in favor of it being up there, but I just want to make sure to avoid, as Councilor Matthews says, weaponization of the term, just make sure people know what it means, have a commonly shared understanding of the definition.
What I really like about the dashboard is that it's kind of taking, you know, people classically think of plans as sort of sitting on a shelf, you produce them and then that's where they go, right? And to me, this makes it a lot more active in terms of something people can go and interact with a way that isn't sort of flipping through the PDF. The information here that seems to give it even more life is the what were we doing in 2023? What are we doing in what did we do in 2024? I can imagine other ways in which you could give each one of the entries even further life beyond that. So is something planned in the coming year? Is it one of, you know, do we prioritize 10 of them and you have a, you know, you've got all your categories. If you go to the home page, you know, you've got here's the 7 categories, but like maybe in the middle is, you know, 2025's priorities. And for those 2025 priorities, you have more live numbers like Matthews is suggesting. So like, this is how much we are spending on it this year. This is how much we do project to get in savings, like some of the stuff that we just read, right, from the SEM program, finding a way to put that in the dashboard. So when people come and see it, they're getting like a real clear snapshot of like, this is what we're doing this year. I think that'll take the static information in the plan and sort of, you know, breathe life into it. And maybe it's only once a year you do that, because like the ongoing maintenance of the thing, like every week would be too much for staffing, but to be able to kind of create that new energy, I think would really make us really sing.
Counselor, are you thinking like an impact, like an annual impact report perhaps?
Yeah, something like that, just kind of something that, yeah, because you're already doing it, not necessarily impact, but you're already saying of the 183 things, these are what's currently going on. But really, yeah, finding a way to bring numbers, bring
A quick summary paragraph or something,
Yeah.
just kind of as to what is going on.
because I think that when the climate action plan was implemented, there were a lot of people who were like, oh wow, that's 50 years away, or that's, you know, there's like some of it is really long-term goals, and I think creating, you know, annual momentum towards achieving those, even some of them, like you said, aren't in the city. So is there in the city's wheelhouse, but is there a way to know what electric vehicle adoption across the city looks like this year? Is there, you know, those kinds of numbers too?
So I'm smiling because you're getting all your enhancement requirements happening here. So you just have to play this video to your IT guys and take care of it.
There you go. Problem solved.
Well,
Or do we just need to wait for you to click to the next?
yeah, I know. The pizza slide.
Because now you're laughing, you're like.
No, I have a pizza icon
Yeah.
on every
Yeah.
screen, like
Yeah.
click the pizza icon to see the
Yeah.
impact.
Oh, no.
To Councilor
I
Tygan's
actually like
point, though, I would hate for, as I agree, I mean, 100%, if that can happen, I think that'll be so helpful in being able to speak with the community about what's actually going on. On the flip side, my fear would be is that this becomes so cumbersome to manage that managing the data process is actually taking more time than the outcome, like what you're really getting from it or what the community's getting from it. So long as that doesn't become the case, I mean, I think that would be great to have some, or I don't know, definition around it, I guess.
That makes sense. Oh, I had a couple of questions, but go ahead.
But
No, I just wanted to say, like, what you're saying is perfectly spot on. And in my next slide, it actually does go over a little bit of this.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, did we already cut your presentation off and then?
No, I'm glad that you also saw like some of the constraints that I was going to impose.
Okay.
So, because this is a subcommittee, I do have to do an annual report, and so this can augment the annual report. I really like your idea of being able to have a button of whatever the current year is, work plan, and then being able to highlight those. And then in terms of when it gets updated, my thought is I'll change it from being 2023, 2024 to have it being a sliding scale. And so you can choose which year, and then it'll like have that interactivity of showing you the progress evolution over time.
That's cool. That'd be really neat. Yeah.
But
Good.
I do plan on it being changed into a new iteration each year to encompass more of these questions and comments, and then be more relevant to what we're dealing with. And so then it can actually be a tool for the community.
Mhm.
You have some questions?
Is there a link someplace to the strategy list for people that aren't as familiar with it, want an easier way, if they wanted to refer to this, just a link someplace, I guess to a PDF. I mean, it'd be great if it was a searchable list, but, just so they had access to it would be helpful. And then under the search feature, what is it searching?
There is no search feature. Under the drop down?
No,
Over
under
on the right-hand
filters,
side.
under the
Oh.
filters.
Sorry, so this is not the one that will be in the web page. That's
back end stuff you don't get to
back-end
see.
stuff.
Sure, but
Sorry.
it makes a difference if it's individual pages, if it's a certain document, if it's there are different things that the search engines can do. And so that was just
Sure.
a question, if someone puts in something, how it pulls that information out from which source, but that's
So that
probably
would
too
that wouldn't be
complicated.
on the user's
Okay,
page. So
okay,
they will just see this page, and this is kind of more back-end stuff. But how I created it, this is one page, and then all of the links are bookmarks within that page.
Mhm.
And so you're technically on the same page,
mhm,
but you're just on different bookmarks. And so when you click between one bookmark to another, it's still the same page. Sorry,
Okay.
that got a little bit too
Okay.
deep.
okay.
Juliana, can you just click on one of the buttons again? I want to.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I'm just thinking about as a user, when I go to various websites, I like how clean this is, but just a consideration for you and your IT team. Where it says estimated cost of strategy, you could have the little I with the circle. And when you hover over it, it says, "What's this?" question mark. You ever been to a website?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could have the definition embedded right there, but I love how clean this is, and you want to keep it clean because otherwise it can get so cumbersome and
yeah.
hard to read. But that's just one possible, maybe play with it formatting wise and see how that would work. But do you know what I mean? The little what's this
Tooltip.
button?
Yeah.
I had the same note.
Yeah, cool. Okay,
Okay.
just a
This
thought.
looks good.
Yeah, I think it's a really great idea. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna make a big difference.
Well, thank you all for your feedback and for your comments. And with those changes, I could probably get that live and on the website within the next week or two, just depending on my other items. But
Cool.
hopefully by the end of the month is my goal for that to be live.
Well, I can't wait to show it too. Most of my neighborhood associations have AV access, so I always, well, not always, but I often do a PowerPoint at neighborhood associations. So I'd love to nerd out with them and walk them through some of this stuff.
Mhm.
So that'll be cool.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that we went through most of those. So my next phase of this, I'm thinking of, instead of a switch like it'll be for the first phase, having it be more of a dial and go through kind of sector by sector, building out that dashboard. And that will be on greenhouse gas emissions and enabling factors. And then trying to reduce staff time for reporting. I'm going to try and coordinate with fellow staff that have to report on other items to make it as useful of a tool for staff and for the community as possible. Transportation has probably the best example of all these. So an enabling factor for transportation would be reporting on the number of lane miles for bike lanes and trails. And then for greenhouse gas emissions, that would be reporting on vehicle miles traveled and active transportation miles traveled. And then the transportation system plan requires reporting elements. So that would be something that we could combine and make sure that we were being as consistent as possible on those. Like you had a question?
No.
Oh, sorry. But that is the thoughts for the next phase. Any comments or questions on that?
Only comment I'll say, I really liked the greenhouse gas emissions. Obviously, that's a big topic. That's a lot of people are concerned about. I will say that the electricity savings aspect, as a layperson, right, like that just generally speaks to me because it speaks to dollars and cents, right? It's harder, I think, to put the greenhouse gas emissions for people to like understand what that really means in a savings aspect. And so for me, I think that if there's no electricity or any type of other thing that as a consumer, we're used to getting kilowatts. We're used to kind of paying these things since we understand what it means to turn off a light and how that changes. I don't know that we completely understand well, like if you don't drive your car, you save this much carbon emissions. It's just not as much part of the normal like layperson.
Until we start getting charged for our carbon footprint, it's going to be hard to understand
Right.
what it means to us. Like,
And so-
honestly.
And so with that, like, I kind of wonder, like with stating how many greenhouse gas emissions we've saved, while important, I'm not sure it'll have the same like impact that we're going for personally to be able to say like how much that actually means.
Yeah, I think converting it to gallons of gas burned, like
Yeah.
people would say like, oh, at $4, that's quite a bit.
But I think that's
That's a-
where,
that's
a
if you could tie it to
tangible
some
one.
sort of, like, financial
Yeah.
thing.
I think that's spot on.
I think the other way to, and this is probably better for a next phase, because it probably requires punching the data in differently, but I was trying to remember how the plan organized the different strategies, but like in my mind, I wanted to see them when you put them up like that, I was like, ooh, I just want to filter them by like what's
Mhm.
going to have the most impact.
I
Like
was thinking
what are
the
the
same thing.
high impact ones? What are the, I want to be able to say low cost, high impact. Like of course everyone wants to know what the low hanging fruit are, right?
Sure.
But being able to filter a list based on this static data that's in the climate action plan, again, might just give it another way to give people the ability to play around with the 183 strategies at once.
That's true. I didn't know if a link to something like an Excel file would be that difficult or something similar where you can filter.
I don't know what's
columns.
the power of Power BI is, so
Yeah, I
it's
don't know
kind of
either.
like,
I think I would have to make a different page for that because I have all of the filters locked so that people can't
Mess 'em
accidentally
up,
break
yeah.
it.
totally.
Makes sense.
Well,
makes
that's
sense.
just an idea for the future.
No,
Sure.
that would be a very cool capability. So I'll check in with the Power BI team and see if people have any thoughts for troubleshooting.
And the climate action, I'm just snooping around our webpage on the climate action plan. I mean, you can find, it's one of many links on the page, but under plan documents, appendix 8 is the actual list of strategies. So it is on there.
Yeah.
You could have it in just a more obvious spot on the website if that was, if needed. Like on the right-hand side of the webpage, it says resources and has a lot of it has about 8 links. You could add it as the 9th link if you really wanted to. But I mean, it is up there technically, but there's so much information, right?
I'm gonna ride my bike next time to offset Matthew's carbon emissions.
First off, I drive an electric car my first 32 months.
Yeah.
Carbon insider trading happens.
Yeah, totally.
Ooh, we could have a pool within council. That'd be great, as long as we don't collaborate.
So our next item is community engagement if you're.
Okay, please go ahead.
So as Lori said, we had our plant walk on Saturday at Bush Park. And I actually have some photos and things on that, so I will kind of touch back on that in just a second. Our next workshop is May 20th from 6 to 7 in Lux Auditorium. And that is how to go solar and storage. So if you're interested, love to have you. It's a free event. And one of the iteration changes that we're making for our community outreach and workshops is we are hosting them through Eventbrite. So then we can kind of manage the outreach and the information a little bit better. So that QR code is a link to share or register. And we are also going to be doing events for Bike Month. And so that's the blue outlined QR code. And Bike Month is May, in case you're interested. And we are doing several events throughout the month. Right now, we only have a couple linked, but as there are more events available, that link will be live. So it'll have any of the updates that go to that. And then just a quick budget note, none of these cost the city any money. Bike Month is mostly a Chariots event. I am providing staff time to help with coordination and to do some of the community outreach, but Chariots is doing the helmet giveaways and they are having the printing for, we're doing a passports for Bike Month. And so people are going to be encouraged to participate in community events as well as activities around biking. So biking to the next meeting would be a great idea.
There you go.
Makes sense.
And then in addition, so for our plant walk, I'm really thrilled to say that we had 50 people in attendance. So very well attended, and it was beautiful weather, and the camuses and lilies were blooming. So honestly, I don't think that we could have planned it any better, and we planned it a couple months ahead, which is always a risk for that. So ended up being a really wonderful opportunity. So hope to see. I don't know if solar and storage can get as many people out, but I'd love to try. And then in addition to what Climate Action is doing, we have other entities that have outreach coming up. So this Friday, if you're available, Parks and Recreation are looking for volunteers from 9 a.m. to noon to help with their Arbor Day event. So that's the flyer. And they have a QR code for scanning to register on the site there. And then Marion County Environmental Services, they're having their Earth Day at Bong's Landing. And so that one is kind of behind the wastewater treatment plant in that general direction. And if you like baby goats, they are having baby goats there.
Oh my gosh.
So,
That's a selling point.
yeah.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I better write that one down.
And then Councilor Tigan has already RSVP'd for going to the Willamette University's Environmental Science Capstone Projects. I can have one other person go without it being any quorum issues. So if you're interested in being that other person, please let me know, and then we can get all of those details sent out as soon as we get them. And finally, on June 23rd, Center 50 Plus is hosting an energy and resources fair. This is really important because seniors are the most disproportionately energy burdened segment of the population, as well as they are under the most, they are the most severely impacted from cold weather and hot weather stress. So they are more likely to experience cold weather related and hot weather related illness. So trying to make sure that they understand how to keep their energy bills low and keep their thermal comfort high is something that we're trying to support.
Can you unpack what you mean by most energy burdened?
Yes, so energy burden is a function of how much your energy costs are and how much your income is. And so once it gets to, I want to say 20% of your income, that's considered energy burden, but that might be off.
But because proportionally they're on a fixed income,
Yes.
their income isn't rising at the same rate the cost of the energy is.
Yes.
Right, right.
And I know we've been doing, the Royal We, meaning I think Salem Housing Authority staff have been working on weatherization of some of our senior housing, if I remember correctly. So I know we've done that in the past. I don't know what the status is of that. It's been a thing.
Do you know, is there a utility rate reduction based on age and income in all of our utility providers?
So this one's a little bit complicated, so stay with me for a second. Not all energy providers, but all of the public utility providers. So that would be in our area, PGE and Northwest Naturals. They have low income qualified discount. So it has nothing to do with age, it's just the income. And that is something that people can apply for, and they can get up to 60% of their energy costs reduced. That program is very oversubscribed, and so they're looking to get more funding for that. But if somebody that you know is low income and they are struggling to pay their energy bills, still support them applying for that, and that can help with reducing those costs. I don't believe Salem Electric has a similar program, but I'm not sure.
I'll just give you a couple extra notes on that. Because I think it was 3 weeks ago, the Trump administration fired every employee that works in the LIHEAP program, which is the low income heating and energy assistance, which distributes, I think, over $4 billion a year in energy assistance. I'd followed up with the folks at Mid-Willamette Valley at Arches, because they're the ones who distribute that funding locally. And Ashley said that they distribute $3.6 million a year within Marion and Polk County in energy assistance. Only people who make less than 50% of the median income qualify for LIHEAP. And so that if that like amount of money isn't available next year, those payments are really like the stopgap between having a home and not having a home. So honestly, like things like an energy resource fair at that moment seem really important in terms of like if you can get people's bills down from $200 to $150 or $150 to $100, could make a real difference too.
Thank you for the shout out on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry to cheer everybody up.
Such a positive person over there.
I was intent on, being solutions oriented all this week. I declared that at the start of my work day today. So I'm gonna figure out what to do about that.
That's important to know.
It is.
I'm glad you shared that. That's important information. I'm sure there's seniors in every ward that'll be potentially impacted by that change at the federal level.
Yeah.
And then, as promised, we are done a little bit early, but if you have any questions or ideas, and then we are meeting at the Public Works Operations Building next time.
Downstairs.
No.
Yeah.
Out on 22nd.
Yes.
Pretty one.
No, I know, but downstairs in the regular meeting room downstairs.
I'm not sure. we
It's
have a
on the
group yet.
meeting invite.
Okay,
We do have a room. I think it's upstairs.
okay.
It's one with the pretty beaver sculpture out front, right?
Buck and Chuck.
Huh?
Buck and Chuck.
Okay,
Back.
I love that.
The Ram, the beaver.
That's awesome.
Is it really South 203? Okay. I think that tells me it's not in this building.
203.
Yeah, 203 is
Okay,
upstairs.
so it would be upstairs. I haven't been in that room yet. Okay. That's good. So the next meeting is June 16th there. Exciting. So is there anything else anyone would like to add? Yes.
Livingston
Uh-huh.
citizen retired engineer. You guys are doing great work and your knowledge is fantastic. And I thank you very much.
You're not looking at this end of the table.
Right. Clearly you're actually one direction.
Never moved on this side of the table.
Your insights and questions from the consumer standpoint too. And yeah, getting the average citizen to have, 5% of the knowledge that you guys have, it would be great because they don't know how water, wastewater treatment plants work. They don't know about how much important electricity is to everything, so all the things you're doing are real good. So keep up the good
Thank
work.
you. Thank you. That's great to hear.
I respond really well to praise, so.
And it's a high note. It's kind of positive.
Glowing.
So Juliana, thank you for helping.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very,
There you
very,
go.
very,
Yeah,
very
indeed.
much.
I'm really intrigued at bringing this dashboard to EMS too, because we have lots of data questions about that all the time. So it'll be fascinating to see what that might look like.
We
Yeah.
have 2 analysts that are going to work.
Great. It's very cool.
Yeah. Let's see it. Let's see it. It's here. Oh, I was thinking of Arbor Day. I didn't realize, well, I participated in a tree planting on Friday for Arbor Day. It was with 6th grade students at Stevens Elementary or Middle School, and 2 classes, and they came out and planted trees with us at AAUW, American Association of University Women. This is the 3rd year that AAUW has been planting trees out in Stevens Yoshikai Park. But the questions from the kids were great. I had an opportunity to talk to them about Arbor Day and Tree City USA, et cetera, before we got started. And they wanted to know where the name Arbor Day came from. And then, of course, we got into talking about importance of trees and the conversion of energy, et cetera, through photosynthesis. And so it was a really fun, educational as well as active. They were out there for hours helping to
Wow.
plant trees.
Awesome.
So it was a really
Very
fun
cool.
event. Anyway, thanks. I don't have it. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, then we're adjourned if no one has anything.
Thanks, Mickey.
Oh, thank you.
I got my very overdue library books.
I'll just take it.
You have a
Sorry.
new library?
Sorry.
Yeah, oh, I,
Right.
declare an open session. I am on.
You got the purples.
Actually, my